Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I feel strange not being see you as I speak, but welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for being in attendance today. I'm Linda Shields, Chair, Baltimore County Police Activity Board, and the board meeting for March 18, 2024 is hereby opened, and reminding everyone that the meeting is recorded. We will begin with roll call. District 1. I'm sorry, did we hear a response from District 1?
Mr. Fitzpatrick's not here. Mr. Fitzpatrick's not here.
Okay, thank you. District 2, yours truly present. District 3.
Mr. Ralph Dennis,
Bishop
present.
Dennis. Thank you, sir. District 4.
Yes, he's here.
Present.
Thank you. District 5.
District 4, Jake Chambers, present.
Thanks, Jake. District 5.
Renee Strive, District 5, present.
Renee. District
Yes,
6.
Ms. Strive's here.
Hi, Scott. And District 7.
Not present.
Sean. And our 2 at-large members.
Present.
Thank you.
Here.
Did we hear from Kara as well?
Ms. White's not here. Ms. Rollingford is, but she's muted.
She's muted. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. At this time, we're going to review and approve the January 12, 24 meeting minutes. Hopefully, you all had a chance to review those. Are there any questions? If not, we entertain a motion to approve the January 12, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there such a motion?
Police Accountability Board hereby adopts.
Yes, there is. Bishop Dennis will read the motion.
Being moved that the Baltimore County Police Accountability Board hereby adopts the January 12th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded. No objections. The minutes will be adopted. Thank you. Under our administrative updates, we have the Equitable Policing Advisory Group. Henry?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. The Equitable Policing Advisory Group met in February for an update on its work that has been kind of going on both in public and behind the scenes. That group includes Chief McCullough and members of the Baltimore County Police Department, as well as members of the community and Baltimore County government. Its work has so far been focused on primarily on traffic stops and on related data. And the working group now has had its first open meetings as well, with engaging members of the public as well as those who are members of it. And at this time, Chief McCullough can certainly add anything he'd like to share as well during his presentation, but it's been a very positive conversation in regards to looking at ways, sort of the internal side of things, whereas the Police Accountability Board is more the public side of it, providing recommendations and looking at policy changes internally to better strengthen the relationship between the community and law enforcement. I'll also add, this is not on the agenda, but an update very briefly on the status of legislation in Annapolis that deals with the Police Accountability Board. There are several bills that have been introduced that would impact the Police Accountability Board, including legislation that would extend the really more deal with the ACC. But there is a bill that has been introduced in the state Senate by Senator Jill Carter of Baltimore City, and in the House of Delegates by a number of delegates, including some from Baltimore County, that would allow the Police Accountability Board to investigate complaints of law enforcement misconduct, similar to what Internal Affairs currently does, and somewhat similarly to what the Administrative Charging Committee already does, where the ACC can request additional information about certain cases. It is not a very specific bill as far as what those investigatory powers would be, and defers heavily to local jurisdictions. That legislation is Senate Bill 621 and House Bill 533. Both of those bills are still in committee. They have had hearings. They have not received votes yet. There are several other bills that have to do primarily with the Administrative Charging Committee, including expanding the time for the Administrative Charging Committee to charge officers in cases where there is a criminal investigation or case running concurrently. Currently, there's a year and a day deadline to essentially take a matter from complaint through ACC disposition. That includes cases where there's a criminal component, and that creates something of a very tight timeline. That legislation is Senate Bill 608 and House Bill 188. The Senate bill has passed the Senate and has gone essentially crossed over to the House for consideration. It was passed unanimously in the state Senate. That is Senate Bill 608. And those are really the two primary bills that deal with the jurisdiction of the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee. There's also a bill that would allow officers to request a show cause order if they believe their rights have been violated in the investigatory process. That's Senate Bill 608, and legislation that would allow for officers to accept summary punishment in cases that are deemed to be low-level offenses, rather than have the matter proceed to the traditional investigatory or channels or different investigatory channels. That's Senate Bill 607. So the next time the PAB meets, the General Assembly will have wrapped up the legislation that passes, will either be signed into law or will be vetoed by the governor, depending on the governor's position on those bills. And I will give a more thorough update as far as how the law changed in conjunction working with the Office of Law to provide an update at our June meeting, just so that everybody here knows what, if any, changes will impact this group, and likewise will do the same thing for the Administrative Charging Committee too. So that is all I have on the administrative update side, unless there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Henry. Those
All
two
right.
items were
I think we can move on to new business, Madam Chair.
great. Yeah, those two items were certainly the most of concern to all of the boards and all the committees. So I'm really glad to see we've made that much progress in that regard. We're going to move on to new business. And I again apologize for my physical absence, and I thank all of our special guests for being here today. So I'm going to turn it right over to Chief McCullough.
Good morning to everyone on the PAB. It's an honor to be here with you again. While I can't always be here every month, it is my goal to be here at least quarterly to meet with you and to address the group. I'd like to, before I get started, to acknowledge the presence of Major Matt Gorman, my Internal Affairs Commander, who's in the room with me, and also Mr. Ernie Reitz, our Department Attorney. First thing I'll jump into first is just a follow up on Henry's comments about the equitable policing group. I truly believe the group has been very productive. I had been a part of that group from the inception, and it's been phenomenal how far we've come in looking at not only our traffic stop data that we have and how we go about, doing what we do in Baltimore County in terms of traffic stops and the equity and all of that, but also just the overall policy issues and other things that have come out of that and the research that's been done. I truly believe that there's been some groundbreaking research that's been done by the researchers and our work group and advancing this effort. And we'll continue to do a deeper dive, asking very effective questions about that data, about the communities in which that data is being collected. And we continue to move forward with that. And I look forward to seeing what comes out of that. We also have gotten to the point where we've discussed as a police department, and we're going to be looking forward to working with the researchers and allowing them to actually physically meet with our officers and actually ask them key questions and even go out and ride with them and talk with them about, you know, the reasons and that they stop people and why they stop people and how they go about it. And the real question is not just the stop. I don't think any of us have any concerns about the stops, but what we're concerned about is the post-stop engagement. What happens once the officer walks up to the car, talks to the person that they stop, and how do they go about making the decisions on whether that person gets a citation or a warning, or how many citations that person's going to, additional actions like, you know, whether they're going to, you know, ask that person for a consent search, you know, what leads us up to that point. Do we see things that give us probable cause to conduct a warrantless search of that vehicle because of something we may have seen in plain view? So we're going to be exploring those things further with our researchers. We also had, you know, discussions around our community policing aspects as it relates to our equitable policing efforts, and also we're also looking at you know, the improvements that can be made as a result of, you know, working with this group, especially when it comes to data collection. You know, I've talked about policies. We're looking at ways that we can improve our policies, but we're also looking at ways that we can work with the Maryland State Police to gather up even additional data that will help us to further understand and make a better determination about the traffic stops that are being made in Baltimore County. So that's pretty much under equitable policing. In terms of just accountability in the Baltimore County Police Department, I'd like to first start off you know, announcing that this year is the 150th anniversary of the Baltimore County Police Department, and we'll be celebrating that anniversary throughout the year. You'll see officers, I don't have mine on today, but you'll see them with special badges walking around with the 150th anniversary on there. And a part of that 150th anniversary, you know, we continue to work on our collective consciousness as an agency. And that goes from the top to the bottom in terms of having very effective and conscientious conversations about everything from our policies to our discipline, just from our day-to-day business and how we impact the community with our actions, and just making sure that we continue to make sure our officers are treating our citizens with the utmost dignity and respect. And that dignity and respect, like I've said before, it starts internally with in the organization, with me as the leader, down to my exec corps, down through the chain of command, internally in the organization, and the hope is once again that that fostering of a professional, respectful environment carries over from us as police officers to the community and how we treat our citizens from day to day. We continue to look at our use of forces daily. I meet almost weekly, if not every other week, with Major Gorman and also with my training team, and looking at our use of forces. We continue to do de-escalation training and do de-escalation types of tactics and techniques in our training, in-service training, in our recruit level, and throughout our agency. And we continue to purchase equipment. I may have mentioned the last time I was here, we purchased additional weapons like pepperball rifles, and things of that sort. We're also working on upgrading our tasers. We're going to be moving to a new taser 10 in our department. We're also continuing to improve and upgrade the equipment that our officers use in terms of the equipment that protects them, like their vests and their vest carriers and the equipment that they're carrying. And like I said before, we continue to review our policies, to look at our policies, and we pretty much on a daily basis have those conversations centered around making sure that we're properly serving the community, that we're giving the community the type of respect, the type of attention that the citizens, the residents of Baltimore County deserve. Ms. Meg Ferguson continues to serve as my policy advisor, and she also serves as our basically as our accountability person in terms of looking at our policies and making sure that we're adhering to the 6 different pillars of the 21st century policing. With that said, want to know if you guys have any questions of me.
I've been hearing about across the country recruiting problems. How are we doing in Baltimore County in terms of recruiting?
Our recruiting still continues to be a challenge for us, just like every agency across the country. I'd like to believe that we're doing better than most. I could say that for the 11, almost 12 months that I've been back, every month the recruiting numbers have been up. Our numbers overall are about 40% more at this time compared to last year this time. But it still continues to be a challenge in terms of the quality of recruit, quality of person that because we still have our standards, we still have our policies in terms of who we can and who we can't hire. That continues to be a challenge, but we're doing well. Thankfully to the county executive and his administration in terms of their support of us as an agency and providing us with great salaries and benefits, but enable us to properly recruit. And with us going to a community presence vehicle program that is currently rolling out, it's rolling out slower than we wanted it to because we can't, of course, get forward to make the vehicles fast enough for us. But as we increase that community presence vehicle program in the community and see more police vehicles present in the community, that will help us in terms of being a tool of attracting more people to our agency. But overall, it's going well, but it's just a challenge. It's part of the times we live in. It's not just our profession. It's nursing, it's teaching, it's all over. Yeah, so it is. But the one thing that I could say is that despite us being short, and I say this to our people, they continue to do a phenomenal job. You would never know that we're almost 270 people short. And because, fortunately, the way our department's structured, we're able to shift our resources. And as long as I'm chief, patrol will always be property. We're here to, to protect and serve, to prevent crime in Baltimore County, but also provide our day-to-day services to our citizens in a timely fashion. So we're making sure that that's happened.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions?
Yes, good morning. I have a question. This is Nigeria Rollingford. I'm just wondering,
Did you raise your hand for a question?
yeah. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, there's like a serious lag there.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
I was just wondering, are there any areas where we are not really competitive with our surrounding counties as far as benefits or anything that's given to police officers?
No, I think we're competitive in every way. The one area where we weren't competitive was the what we call take-home cars. That's what I was talking about, the community presence vehicle program. I think as we roll that program out and we can find more success there, currently we only have 65 actual cars in that program. But as an agency, we have more than that in terms of actual personnel with take-home cars. But as we roll that program out and we increase that, I anticipate that will take us past our competition because we already exceed everyone in terms of benefits and pay rate.
Thank you.
Chief, I have one other question. Other than retirement, what's our biggest contributor to retention? What contributes to?
Well, I mean, salary, I mean, salary, with this generation, salaries first and foremost with them. They will, this younger generation, they will jump from job to job. This younger research, they want to be highly paid. They come out wanting to be the boss and they don't want to make six figures right out of college. So the generation is a little different. We believe in working our way up. But our pay is competitive,
Okay.
and it's our intent to keep it competitive. But I think the real difference is, and the thing that I've tried to focus on as a leader is, you have to understand that the work environment has to be a work environment that people want to come to work every day. So that means, some of the negativity, the toxicity that sometimes finds its way into the workplace in our culture and our society. You have to find a way to manage that. You have to find a way to keep people focused on the mission, focused on work while they're at work, and try to create as much positivity as you can and try to leverage those positive momentum moments. And, we're really trying to utilize the 150th anniversary of the department and, all the positive things that are going on. And right now, I'm even working on a strategy with our public affairs section where we where we can push out even more of the positivity that's going on in the department on social media and kind of highlight those things and even create some video pieces to highlight and promote the department on social media. Some small like vignette type videos that will be pushed out on social media to kind of highlight the different parts of the department, highlight the academy, highlight the experience of being the academy to kind of show the younger generation, show potential employees that that this is a great place to work and that the training's actually fun.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Chief, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to serve as your chief, and it's an honor to be a part of.
Oh, Madam Chair, are you there?
Yeah, I did have one question for the chief. It seems like our audio is a little delayed. But I just want to
All right.
know,
Well, Madam Chair, do you have a question for Chief McClellan?
I'm sorry, had a question for the chief.
Oh, you there?
Are you able to hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. My question was just, could you speak to the relationship between the department officers and the collective
Yes,
bargaining
we
units?
can hear you, Linda.
Could you speak to the relationship between the department, the officers, and our collective bargaining units at this time?
And what would you want me to speak to? I mean, other than, our members are a part of the FOP. And the FOP is the bargaining unit for our officers. And right now, I believe it's an ongoing process right now. They're in the middle of collective bargaining with the administration. Always supportive of our officers and the FOP along with the administration. Other than that, I'm not sure exactly, um, you know, the basis for the question.
Just wanting to know the climate of relationships. Sometimes it's smoother than others. Just things are going well between all parties.
No,
Great.
I believe things are going well. I mean, we have great communication. I mean, there's always open communication. It's the way it should be.
Mhm.
Everybody, I mean, we all know each other, so it's like, I mean, these relationships are long, ongoing relationships. So it's not like any of us are strangers. So we all have one another's cell phone numbers, emails. We can all reach out to one another. I mean, I can tell you myself as chief of police, I make myself available to every member of the agency. And it's down to including that, anyone that wants to have my cell phone, have my cell phone number and call me at any time if they have it. So,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Great.
so Henry, do you want me to, I did share with Henry at right before the meeting started. I shared with him some things that I had concerns about, and Major Gorman can chime in and maybe even add a little bit to it. So some of the things, it's a PAB issue, but also an ACC issue. So they created this state matrix for discipline for officers, and as many of you know, I spent 8.5 years of my career in internal affairs. And I do have some concerns about, there needs to be some improvements. We're going to need to go back and actually look at the state matrix, because when you look at things like car crashes, the discipline that's meted out for officers for car crashes. In our old Baltimore County matrix, there was some grace in there for somebody who had a minor property damage accident as their first accident as an officer. We also had a time limit that kind of, accidents kind of dropped off your record, or, it allows for some great grace there. While as chief of police, I always want my officers to cut their BWC on every time. But I also, I'm concerned about, the time when the officer accidentally doesn't cut it on, and right now the way the current policy is set up is that, you could accidentally not cut it on one time, and that very first time, that's something that you're receiving discipline. And the question becomes, is that reasonable? I think there's at least one or two other things, Matt.
Court would be an
Oh yeah, court. So yeah, so you can actually, under the matrix right now, you can miss court, and there's some forgiveness for missing court, but there's no forgiveness for a first time car crash when you consider the number of miles that police officers drive, and there's no grace for not cutting your body worn camera. So, I just throw those things out there. It's definitely something that we need to revisit, because we want to make sure that we're holding people accountable. We also want to make sure, while we're being equitable to the community, we want to make sure that our officers are being equitably treated also in terms of discipline that's initiated against them. So I did want to bring that up to this body.
Thank you.
Any questions about that?
Thank you.
Thank you again for having me. I'm going to excuse myself because I have another meeting to go. But
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Chief?
Thank you for having me. Everyone, have a wonderful spring.
It was well, sir.
So we'll move on to our next guest speaker for today. Sheriff Black.
Good morning. Do you want to come sit at the table so we can see you on the screen here? If you want to sit anywhere inside of where Kelly's sitting here. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Jim Black. I am the Chief Deputy of the Sheriff's Office. Unfortunately, I'm in the position of not only following the star of the show and the Chief of Police, but also for the first time this morning, seeing that my name was on the agenda and that I would be speaking to you all. So I apologize if my presentation is not as comprehensive as the Chief's. I think the primary thing I would just want to share is there's a lot of ambiguity about specifically what the Sheriff's Office in Baltimore County does. Unlike Harford County, who are the primary law enforcement and first responders in the county, we have the police department for that job. So our primary functions are courtroom and courthouse, circuit court specifically, security, service of court process, so things like evictions, summonses, but even specifically with respect to evictions and certain court action, the district court has a separate constable's office that handles everything out of their office. So we only handle specifically process that is issued by the circuit court for Baltimore County. We are also responsible for transportation of incarcerated individuals from the Baltimore County Detention Center to courthouses throughout the state. So that's sometimes something that even comes to a surprise to our local judges, that we are not only providing security in the courtroom in the circuit court of our own circuit court, we are transporting incarcerated individuals who have court in Ocean City, Baltimore City, any other surrounding jurisdiction. Is our responsibility to transport them to their place of court and be their security custodians of court there as well. We also perform institution to institution transports. So that is something that has continued. Originally, I don't know, it's probably been 30 years now. The sheriff of Baltimore County was in charge of the detention center. So that was all part of the sheriff's office purview. Now we have obviously a wardens or director who's in charge of that. It's a separate agency, but we have continued to conduct transportation duties on behalf of the detention center. They only do limited transport specifically for medical reasons. So if someone has a sentence in Baltimore County and that sentence or a sentence in another jurisdiction is expiring and they have a commitment to Baltimore County, it is our responsibility to pick them up from that other jurisdiction and transport them to Baltimore County. It is also a responsibility to transport individuals from Baltimore County Detention Center to the Division of Corrections to serve any state sentences they may have. And then finally, we do have an arrest warrant division. They serve a variety of warrants. However, their primary function is child support noncompliance, which are not typically criminal warrants. They can be elevated to a criminal status by a judge at circuit court, but primarily they're civil warrants. They're for failure to appear for court, essentially. So it's not a crime unless it is deemed so by a circuit court judge to not pay your child support. The crime that comes into play is not showing up for your child support hearing. So that is probably 90% of the arrest warrants we serve. We will serve criminal warrants. We will serve traffic warrants and other warrants, but that is not our primary function. We have a MOU with the Baltimore County Police Department that says that they will serve the majority of Baltimore County warrants, even if they're issued from the circuit court. We have gotten into the habit somewhat lately, more so of, because of a good working relationship with them, of serving more of their warrants, to kind of lessen their workload, especially precinct 6 is where we take most of the individuals. If they're particularly busy, we will handle that. Because as I said, a lot of people, I came through as a Baltimore County police officer before I transferred to the sheriff's office. Many people, not even police officers, know exactly what it is we do. We go to the same entry-level training academy with the police department. So they'll have maybe 40 to 50 police recruits, and we'll send anywhere from 1 to 3 deputy sheriff recruits through the police academy. And then our annual in-service training is actually held with them as well. So their in-service training, so the chief was talking about their in-service training with de-escalation training and so on. The chief, previous chiefs and the sheriff have thought, deemed it valuable to have concurrent training so that we have uniform police response, if you will, throughout the county. We do separate in-house training. It's limited because of our staffing levels, but we do try to do that. To some extent, like during judicial conferences, we'll try to do so. We do our own annual firearms training, but it is held at the Baltimore County Police Pistol Training Facility. And our range master actually works with the Baltimore County Police Range Master in developing our outline of our training program. Because again, because of our duties, the training can be modified to some extent, for our purposes versus what they do. We do have a canine unit, but they are not what you would deem as patrol dogs. So they're not dogs that we would use to chase a suspect. They're only gun and bomb dogs. So that's all what they're trained to do. Because of that, we've since switched from German Shepherds, which have that typical patrol dog appearance, to labs. So we have black labs and yellow labs that do that because they can be trained just as well. They don't have that aggressive side that you might need in a patrol dog. And we do have a professional standards bureau. Used to be called our investigative unit. They were responsible not only for recruitment and applications, processing departmental applications for employment, but they were also our internal affairs. It's now been kind of morphed into a professional standards unit. Used to be just 2 deputies who reported directly to our undersheriff. Now it is a sergeant, a full-time deputy sheriff, and then we also have a part-time civilian who is a retired Baltimore County deputy sheriff who was in the investigative unit. So we now have 3 people doing that as well. As you know, the sheriff is an elected official. He's elected by the county. He's not appointed by the county executive. The undersheriff is actually also an appointed position. So it can, in theory, come from the ranks of the office. But during Sheriff Fisher's tenure, at least, so for the last 20 plus years, it has always been an outside hire. Our current undersheriff has extensive experience. He was a colonel in the Baltimore City Police Department. He was the chief of police in Indianapolis Police Department. He's been consulted on EEOC, head of public safety in Indianapolis before he was the head of the chief of police. So he brings valuable experience to our office. And as the chief deputy, I'm essentially, that's what you would think, I'm a deputy rank, but I'm the chief of the deputies. So I've moved up through the ranks from the office. I'm not an outside employee or outside hire. Any questions at the sheriff's office?
Can you explain the historical significance of your patch? This is a shameless plug for my district, by the way. So
Yeah, the Battle of North Point.
Yes.
They was a group of small militia that were asked to hold off invasion of the English army. Unfortunately, I don't know the dates, but yes, it's kind of a testament to specifically the Battle of North Point and the persistence of Baltimore County to help withstand the British invasion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief Deputy Black, for being here today.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
I'm always,
Thank you.
if there's any questions specifically about the sheriff's office, I'm always happy to help.
Thank you so
very
much, and thank you for
sir.
that full report.
Appreciate it.
We're now going to have our report from Dawn, our Administrative Charging Committee report.
The Administrative Charging Committee met on January 5th, February 2nd, March 1st, and March 8th. So we've had 4 meetings so far in 2024. We reviewed and deliberated 75 cases. We have rendered 74 opinions, and 1 opinion has been deferred pending information requested from Internal Affairs. Of those 74 cases we've resolved, all are Baltimore County Police Department employees, officers. When I give the report, I will say officer. That does not mean it's just an officer. It can be any rank, but just for the ease of reporting, I'll say officer. Of the 74 cases, there were 18 use of force cases. So the breakdown of the 74 is there were 22 departmental accidents, 20 officers were administratively charged, and 2 officers were not administratively charged. We had 2 complaints of discrimination. Those 2 officers were not administratively charged. We had 1 complaint for rude and discourteous behavior and failure to offer medical assistance, no administrative charges. 3 complaints of rude and discourteous behavior. 1 officer was administratively charged and 2 were not. 1 complaint for failure to write a report and improperly threatening arrest, no administrative charges. 1 complaint for failure to take necessary police action, no administrative charges. 1 complaint for failure to conduct an investigation in a timely fashion, failure to preserve evidence, and failure to conduct an interview, not administratively charged. 3 complaints for unnecessary use of force. 3 officers were not charged. 10 complaints for excessive force. 10 officers were not charged. 1 complaint for sexual assault and excessive force, not administratively charged. 8 complaints for unprofessional execution of a search warrant. 8 officers not administratively charged. 2 complaints for serving an inactive warrant. Both officers were not charged. 1 complaint for an unlawful search, no administrative charges. 1 complaint for an illegal search, not administratively charged. 1 complaint for failure to resolve a parking complaint, no administrative charges. 1 complaint for failure to resolve a call for service, no administrative charges. 1 complaint for unprofessional conduct, no administrative charges. 2 complaints of racial profiling. 2 officers were not administratively charged. 1 complaint for theft of a gun and failure to report gun theft, not administratively charged. 3 complaints for unprofessional conduct, failure to de-escalate, and improper threat of arrest. 3 officers were not administratively charged. 1 complaint for excessive force, racial profiling, violating constitutional rights, and discourteous conduct, not administratively charged. Almost the end, I promise. 3 complaints for excessive force and improper handling of personal property. 3 officers not administratively charged. 1 complaint for sexual assault and body-worn camera violation. The officer was not charged for sexual assault and was charged for violating body-worn camera policy. 1 complaint for an improper tow and unprofessional handling of a call for an accident, not administratively charged. 1 complaint for improper traffic stop and failure to identify their supervisor, not administratively charged. And 1 complaint for unfair treatment and failure to provide accurate information about the law, not administratively charged. So far as of today, our next meeting is April 5th at noon here in this room and via WebEx. So far, we have 20 cases for that next meeting, but they can come in at any time. So that number is not a definite for what we have, but that's pending today. The last thing I have was there was a member of the public that spoke at the December meeting, and I didn't understand at the time what that person was saying, but they expressed concern that 3 hours is not enough time for the ACC to review cases sufficiently. And I didn't understand where that comment came from, and I noticed on our website, it showed we only meet for 3 hours. So I agree, 3 hours is not enough for our caseload. and we don't restrict it to 3 hours. That's just a placeholder for the county website. We are here until the building closes. And when we haven't been able to finish our cases in that day, we schedule another meeting while making sure we're within our timeline that we have to have things done. So I want to thank that person for bringing that to our attention, because we don't just meet for 3 hours, or we're here until it's done. Does anybody have any questions or comments or?
I just want to thank the members of the ACC and to piggyback off what Dawn said, the March 1st meeting went until 5 o'clock. Did not complete the docket there, so rescheduled, and these members were willing to quickly get rolling at on the next date on March 8th and complete the docket, spend another hour and a half, 2 hours to wrap up those cases. So there is certainly no limit on the amount of time outside of the logistics of this building and the availability of members.
I'm very proud of the work we're doing. We all come very well prepared. We know the cases, we know what we've reviewed, and we all come with our own thoughts and opinions and come together to form a group opinion. And we take as long as we need for each case. So.
Thank you so much. And I think we can tell just by Dawn's report that there is never a shortage of work and never enough hours to complete that work in, but that's a tedious task, and we thank you for your commitment to
Thank
that
you.
and the committees as well. Thank you so
Do we
much.
get copies of that, those results?
The stat, this is actually a good question.
You mean the summary or opinions?
The summary, more and more of the summary.
The summary that.
I can put it in a more
Yeah, I think that information
better
is
than sheet.
is public. It's
Yeah.
the actual decisions themselves are not.
Or not, okay.
Good question. Thank you. So now we're at the information that Henry will pick up on. The
Sure.
appointment of child court member.
Sure. So as was circulated out, the applications and redacted resumes of two individuals who the PAB previously appointed to the trial board roster, who have received training and are available for two upcoming trial boards. The first being on April 8th, 2024, with the Maryland Transit Authority Police. And the second being on April 26th, 2024, the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Police. And then you'll notice there was no discussion of alternates here. Part of that has to deal with the fact that in my discussions with their end, it's that if the member can't attend, it's very unlikely there'll be sufficient time they can't make it that morning, for instance, if there's a traffic accident or something, to get a alternate communicated to you need to be there, get them there and all that. And it's likely they'll just reschedule the trial board in that circumstance. So neither one of these are Baltimore County Police Department cases. These are both state. And this is just a reminder, if the incident occurs, the incident that leads to the complaint, and then these individual officers are disciplined for by the state ACC, if that occurs in Baltimore County, it is the Baltimore County Police Accountability Board's responsibility to appoint a civilian member. So just to give some background there, the information was circulated, and unless there's any questions, happy for discussion on that point. These appointments. Sure.
Where will those hearing boards be held?
So one of them, let me confirm, one of them is at the Office of Administrative Hearings. And the other, I just want to confirm that it is there as well. I don't necessarily believe it. So yes, they're both at OAH.
And am I correct to assume that when there is a hearing board regarding a Baltimore County police officer, that it will be held at the public safety building in the hearing room that they have there?
That is technically the department's, under the statute, discretion to come up with the policies and procedures for those actual trial boards. But as far as the PAB's process, this board would be responsible for appointing the civilian member. And then the department would provide the information as far as the when, the how, all the logistical side of it. But certainly I know our board would be willing to work with the department as far as coming up with the best process for getting that information to the civilian members and making sure they're aware of where they need to be and what information they should have beforehand.
Make a motion that we'll appoint Bernadette White to serve as a civilian member of the April the 8th trial board for the Maryland Transit Authority Police. I can get a second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Ms. White be appointed for the board. Is there question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries.
Likewise, I make a motion that we also appoint that we also appoint Jay Hollis Albert to serve as a civilian member of the April 26, 2024 trial board for the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Police.
Second.
It's properly moved and seconded that J. Hollis Albert would be appointed to the board. Is there a question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, motion so carried. Okay, so, I know everything's so delayed on the other end. Again, I want to, thank everyone for coming today. I apologize for my having a date conflict, but I thought it essential that I be here in person, especially for this meeting, for this moment. Before we go into our public comment, I would like to state that I wanted to let you be the first to know that I will not be seeking reappointment for the next term. My term ends this June, and so I will be, I won't say stepping down because I'm going to complete my term, but I won't be seeking a reappointment. I have been so grateful for the this board, your work, your tenacity, your diligence, and I think we got some things done.
We did.
And
Absolutely.
I'm happy about that. And I have been offered to serve as the legal advisor for my alumni, the historic Frederick Douglass Senior High School.
Oh.
I'll be their legal counsel.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I was grateful for
Congratulations.
that. Thank you. But I in no way will be disjointed or completely detached from this group of wonderful volunteers, hardworking and dedicated to get the mission done that we were sent here to do. So I want you to be the first to know. And like I say, I'm not gone yet, but
Still that June meeting.
but wanted to make sure you all were the first to know. And thank you again for all of your support. All of your help. Thank you.
I'll be providing some logistical information for the members as to the next steps there. And just as a reminder, I've touched base as well with Donna with Nigeria. Your terms end again, there were several terms that ended in 2023. There are 3 more that end in 2024. There's no term limit. So again, I will be in touch about the next steps for the board position. Of course, there will be a new individual in District 2 as well, but I want to thank Linda for her work as chair in helping me, as you were here before I was, and making sure that this board was able to get rolling and deal with some very important tasks, including but not limited to, I think, what was a really important work in getting the ACC up, and as Don has noted, very significant work. And I think without your leadership, Madam Chair, we wouldn't have gotten as strong of a group and as professional a group. So thank you.
Thank you all. And we just made a good team, I think. So with that, though, we're going to move forward to our public comment section. Do we have any?
We do. Just wait 1 second on my end, and I'm gonna get my timer up so that, and I do see that Ms. Hewley's hand is up. So, let me reset here. Sorry. If you want to unmute her. You don't need to make Pam. There. Yep. All right. All right, Ms. Hewley, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. I just wanted to retouch on some things that I brought up on the last PAB meeting. I was very excited to see that so many questions were asked during this ACC meeting. And I think it was just so wonderful that you guys gained clarification on the disciplinary process, like even asking what a written reprimand was. I think that was amazing because, it's a piece of paper. You get one, you get two, you get three, then actions happen. Like a written reprimand is the lowest form of discipline, and I think it was very important that people were engaging. One of the things, thank you, Dawn, for clarifying the time limit question. Because as you can see online, it does say that it's only for 3 hours. Also, there's been a consistent issue online that I already addressed with Mr. Henry about the passcode. So today, again, there was no passcode for the meeting, so I had to pull over on the side of the road and whip out my laptop to come on video. So there's probably a lot of people who couldn't participate today because in order to use the phone access to WebEx, there has to be a passcode entered after the access code. So that's one thing to remember. I also did send Mr. Henry one of the internal affairs report for a case that I had before the ACC developed. The reason why I sent the case over was to reiterate what I said to Dawn about the fact that sometimes the officers are not interviewed. The complainant may be interviewed just one time before the investigation starts, and then you never hear anything again from the detective. But I had a case where officers arrested me on a warrant for a noise complaint where it was completely trumped up and ended up being dismissed. But during that warrant service, my breast and my vagina was exposed. They didn't let me get dressed, and they held me down on the ground handcuffed while I was fully nude. And none of the officers were interviewed, and they all were exonerated. But yet, as you see, Chief McCullough, who I knew at the time as Captain McCullough in my tenure at the police department, speaks about dignity and respect. I think the basic point of dignity and respect is making sure a woman's breasts are not fully exposed or her vagina is not exposed when you're serving a warrant in her home. So that was what I wanted to bring up to ACC in regards to questioning whether or not the officers were interviewed and why weren't they interviewed. We can't simply rely fully on body-worn camera to see why an officer wouldn't cover up someone's breast. You're not going to get that information just looking at a body-worn camera video. Unfortunately and fortunately, that officer, Robert Mazuka, has left the department and he moved on to Harford County, but I'm truly in fear for any woman that he comes in contact with. Officer Frank Vini is still at the department at Essex Precinct, and so is Brandon Huseman. And it's just very concerning that I have to pursue legal action against the department to get some sort of final end to the situation that they subjected me to. So I did send that to Henry. Unfortunately, he didn't disseminate it to the people in the room today. But I just wanted to touch base on if anybody has questions for the officers. I think it would be very important to initiate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. We don't appear to have any other persons waiting.
No.
Still, there is one? Okay, great.
He's a trouble member.
No. Okay.
All right.
So there appear to be no other public comments at this time. We're going to move for before we move for a motion for adjournment, we want to go down to item 6 on the agenda, which just states the date of our next board meeting, June 24, 2024 at 12 noon. 12 noon, that's for me. In this same room.
Absolutely.
And once again, if there's any changes, it'll be posted on the website as well. I know this meeting was at 11 versus noon. That was posted when we got the word about it. Needed to move the meeting back January. It was posted up on the website. So apologize for any confusion there. But again, all meetings are also, the recordings will be posted and the minutes are posted. So if for whatever reason anybody here was late, we can certainly make sure they get information about and they can access the chief's comments and the chief deputy sheriff's comments. So,
Madam Chair, I have
Yes,
2
ma'am.
things for future events before you close. The Baltimore County Police Department Community Partnership Academy, formerly the Citizens Police Academy, They're starting their next program in April, and the last day to apply is March 25th. So if anybody's interested in doing it again, or you know someone in your community that would benefit from it, please let them know about that. And the chief talked about the 150th anniversary. There is a 5K with the police department on May 11th. If anybody's interested, I brought a flyer for that.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
With that, we're going to entertain a motion for adjournment.
All right, I move that we adjourn until our June the 24th meeting here in this room at 12 noon.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all so much.